مو كله على حد السوا. شعبنا واعي رسم طريقة كل من يحبه شافنا وواثقة.
دليلون يا الولد يا ابني دليلون
يا قمر الدغنو وقفوا
يما عدوك علي ساكن الجو دليلون يا الولد يا ابني دليلون يما عدوك علي ساكن الجو يما نام نومات العوافي يما نوم الغزيل بالحرارة يما نام نومات الهنية نوم الغزيل بالثنية يما أنا من أقول يما قلبي يموت والله يما ها يا ويلي ويلي لا 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 يدني كنام خابت نميار بزرگتنی کنم یادت نمیاد يما نام نومات الهنية نوم الغزيل بالثنية يما أنا من أقول يما قلبي يموت والله يما ها يا ويلي ويلي لا 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 يدني كنام خابت نمیاد بزرگتنی کنم یادت نمیاد
الأول
قول بعد أنا محول.
الأول الأول الأول
يا حبيبي
الأول
يا حبيبي
حبيبي تعال حمودي هو الأول ماما حبيبي ماما حبيبي
انت جوعانة؟ انت جوعانة؟
أنا جوعانة
انت جوعان لا جوعانة؟
جوعان جوعان
جوعان. انت رجال يا بنية؟
أنا مو بنية أنا رجال
اي انت قوي؟
كلش قوي
انت قوي؟ هيك قوي؟
أنا أسود
بوكسينج؟
أنا أسود
انت تسوي بوكسينج؟
أنا أسود
شلون اسود؟
صحيح
اي انت بوكسينج تسوي؟ انت شنو؟
أنا بنية أنا حبابة
طببتيني بالشجر. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Arab AMP Folktales. We are in our May edition, and we're really excited to cover the student Intifada, the student uprisings this month, as we enter the month of May, the 76th year of the Nakba of the Palestinian people, of the catastrophe in 1948. When over 800,000 of us were pushed out of our homelands by Zionist settler colonialism and militias. We also are airing this program at the time when we are waiting for news of a Rafah ground invasion by the Israeli military. We have stated time and time again that Rafah is a red line, and we know that all of us in our community, folks of conscience, are going to continue to organize to make sure that the Palestinian people are not forgotten in this moment, and that these violences and these international crimes against humanity do not happen without accountability and in silence. It's an honor this month to interview Farah from CSU Sacramento, or Sac State. And this interview is happening after a fantastic win at CSU Sacramento. So Farah, I'll let you talk about that. But in this moment, we have over 150 universities in the United States that have risen up to demand the same four central demands around divestment from Israeli occupation and genocide. We are so encouraged by the work of students throughout the United States taking on your historic responsibility to push and to lead us in this moment and say 7 months into genocide, we're not going anywhere. If anything, we're just going to get louder. So would love for folks to know who you are, know more about you, and also the timeline of your encampment. When did it start? Is it still going? And what are your central demands?
Yeah, so I'm Farah. I am here graduating in just a couple of days from CSU Sacramento. So I'm with our Students for Justice in Palestine there. We started last Monday, so we actually had a very short encampment, lasted about 9 days. called our win Tuesday that just passed. You see, I don't even know what day of the month it is. The Tuesday that May 7th is when we declared our win. Basically, what had happened was we were sitting down basically every single day for 2-3 hours on end with our admin every day, negotiating. Come Tuesday night, I provide them the document saying, okay, this is what we agreed upon last time we met. And they go, I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't want to feel like I'm negotiating with the students. So we couldn't even take this back for a vote before it was just placed in our face with policy changes. He opens up his folder and says, we believe what we believe. We shouldn't be negotiating with our students like this is a treaty. Basically, this idea that what happened in other campuses is what made our admin act this way. So it's important to recognize that if it wasn't for the repression of other campuses, our admin wouldn't have been saying or doing the things that they have done. That the valedictorian not being able to speak at University of Southern California anymore because she was a genocide major and pro-Palestine Muslim woman, the repression, the mobs and the police repression at UCLA, what was happening in Colombia, so on and so forth, helped with this. So it's so important to recognize what they have also done, as well as Humboldt. CSU Humboldt was a big embarrassment for our admin to see somebody in the CSU system act this way towards students. So he opened up his folder, presented us with an executive memorandum granting us amnesty, that we have a right to do this, even though we were in violation of so many things. And most importantly, demanding every auxiliary. And for those who don't know, an auxiliary basically is an entity of the school. So, for example, our gym is called The Well. Our student government is called ASI, CAP Radio, University Enterprises Incorporated, University Foundation, which is our endowment fund, right? Calling on all of those entities to disclose their investments and divest it on the basis of genocide, ethnic cleansing, and activities that violate fundamental human rights. So this specifically says to investigate socially responsible investment strategies, which include not having any direct investments in corporations and funds that profit from genocide, ethnic cleansing, and activities that violate fundamental human rights. University Foundation, Sacramento State, and other campus auxiliaries are also directed to investigate socially responsible stance, the one I just mentioned, for indirect investments as well, such as index funds and mutual funds. So this is a directive across all of Sac State. So yes, it's not at the CSU level, but we were able to achieve it at the campus level. Now, encampments are hard. This isn't something that just pops up easy peasy. We are a small board of 4, okay? A board of 4 kids. And the most experienced one on there was me. So you could imagine just how much hustle and work and grind 4 kids are really putting into.
MashaAllah.
We had to reach out for community help, right? For help with security. And it started out very, very small, but we built it and everybody came. Everybody came. And the first couple of days were intensely hard. I will not lie. But so many people mobilized around this. So many people helped us out and organized, and we had committees and we had a lot of counter protest threats. We did. But mobs never ended up coming, just Turning Point USA, couple white supremacists, couple agitators. But we on the daily had threats about mobs coming. So the school ended up giving barricades. As soon as admin went home, we took over the barricades and just like, use them to our advantage. But yeah, I want to open it up for you if you have any questions.
Farah, that's amazing. It's pretty incredible to hear you talk about the auxiliaries and the divestment based on ethnic cleansing, genocide, and what was the third one?
Human rights violations.
Human rights
Not
violations.
even just Israel. This encompasses every other country that conducts genocides and human rights violations.
Wow. And so we know that the demands that you all had were the same: disclose, divest, defend, and declare.
Yes.
For the human rights kind of parameters, was there any discussion around Palestine in particular, or did the administration say we want to set the same standard across the board? And how many auxiliaries are we talking about? Like 2, 3, 100?
Yeah, so they wanted to set the standard across the board, right? But also it's this issue with saying the word Palestine. To give context, administrations on CSU campuses are not unionized. So there's this big fear and like treading lightly of what to do because they don't want to get fired. But also, other campuses are telling their SJPs that, oh, it's out of our hands. Well, we are proof that it is in your hands. Don't lie because our president did it, right? And now, granted, every campus does have their own policies, but that's like for every SJP to demand, well, show me the policy that says you can't do it. And what was your second question?
The number of auxiliaries, or not the number, but what's like how much money has been divested from this?
We don't know about the other auxiliaries like ASI, the WellCap Radio, and University Enterprises Incorporated, because our main focus was targeting the endowment fund that is University Foundation. That from the initial scan was 4.5 million. So what is divested so far is 4.5 million. Now, with this directive, every auxiliary right now is going through and divesting their investments.
That is incredible, Farah. I'm really curious about the timeline for this divestment. And also, this is a huge win, not just for CSU Sacramento, but also for the other CSUs, which obviously can take this as an example. Why is the media not covering this? Have journalists come to talk to you all about this? This is historic.
Yeah, so actually like that's a really interesting point because this is historic, but it was really local Sacramento news that was covering us. Al-Arabiya English came and spoke to us. We did get a request from Middle East Eye and CBS National, but we have not seen anything published from them yet. And I really genuinely think that it's the fact that we are CSUs, they're working class universities. They're considered the more affordable universities, despite them hiking our tuition 6%, which is completely atrocious. Nobody can afford that. That is going to a CSU. We don't know why national news are not covering this, but we aren't a big name school. But we are a couple of working class college kids that did that and moved millions.
Yeah, say that.
Yeah.
4 college kids move $4.5 million and more, inshallah. This is really incredible to kind of hear it from you, because we need to amplify this story and we need to amplify these moments in order to also contribute to the larger student movement and to our broader movement. I was on a call this morning with folks who are trying to figure out, how do we talk to representatives about Palestine when there's a ground invasion in Rafah? I think we can have a conversation about what effective measures are for pressure, but the bottom line is the student intifada has pressured the US government in this moment to make statements reaffirming that they will not support a ground invasion with military support. Now, for me, Farah, and I'm sure for you too, this is just heki fadi. It's just words. But the point is, y'all, the students are pushing back on the president of the United States, who has co-signed genocide of the Palestinian people for the past 7 months during an election cycle. He will lose this election if he does, because of his lack of change of policy on Palestine and his backing of Israel's crimes, no matter what. And it was the students, yes, 7 months of organizing and incredible organizing from Palestinian community sectors and organizations. But to me, it's y'all. It's the students who have made this historic moment where you have shouted your demands across the world. You are changing public opinion, and you are also pressing up against the Democratic Party in a time when they're worried for their shirts. I don't know if you want to talk more about why the student intifada is important in this moment. You're in the middle of a historic time. We are both, but you're really in the middle of this. You just achieved something incredible. What are your reflections for us?
Yeah, I think that the United States needs to realize that people are not robots and they're not blind, and especially not the youth, that you have stopped from being able to afford anything from housing to healthcare to basic needs like food, right? So to think that the working class especially will not rise up as if we have anything else to lose, you're completely wrong by that. We are well-educated kids, well-read kids who have the internet at our disposal. And we see this with the banning of TikTok as well. There is a reason why TikTok is getting banned. They don't want this information at our fingertips. These academic institutions they're not just areas we go to get a paper. No, they're teaching us material. And we are applying these same things that we are awakened by. These books are right in front of us, right? The internet is right in front of us as well. And we're not this distracted youth, this distracted Gen Z that has been placed on us as this image of Gen Z is lazy, Gen Z ABCD. We're not that. We're actually very awakened, very politicized, and very committed. They have left the youth angry. And if you think that we're not going to rise up against injustice, oh, you're very well wrong. Because all that they have done and the empire, from administrations to politicians, is expose themselves. You have gotten the youth angrier than you think. You've exposed yourself in your hypocrisy and your shadiness and your lies, and also to the ugliness. They don't realize how ugly they look. They look incredibly vicious and fascist. They don't realize how fascist they all look. And it's disgusting. But one thing to note about our administration is that we do not have the same environment as all the other schools. That context of every campus is different, and context of every administration is different. Now, we all know that not all skin folk are kinfolk, right? The context to our administration is that our president, he's a man of color, with a chief advisor that was well connected with the Muslim and Arab community. I'm not gonna lie, semester 1, he was not saying the right things. It took 2 shooting threats to make an Islamophobia task force, right? And it took 3 months of that to really show him, like, you need to do something about this. You don't get to just be silent. Now, within that Islamophobia task force, there was faculty that were on this task force that also were in Faculty for Justice in Palestine. And so it was this kind of suffocation of people on our side to them, right? Now, we don't work in the system, right? But we have players that are doing that for us, right? Now, I didn't really realize this until the encampment, that I was like, oh shoot, the community and the Faculty for Justice in Palestine actually suffocated like the politicization for admin, right? Or I guess I wouldn't even say politicization. I would really just say kind of garnering the bit of support we could have gotten. But admin remains admin. And that is something so important to note, that negotiations are not easy when you're sitting down at a table and admin's claiming they support you, but they can't say this and they can't say that. It's even harder. And mind you, our president used to be in Students for Quality Education, which is an internship branch of CFA. So it's like you're having all this so-called activist background, but you're silent. And I think he felt eventually shamed by that.
As he should be, because
As
this
he
moment
should.
in history will I mean, that's the thing, right, Farah? Like, I really appreciate you saying, look, the United States has left students in the dust. You've left working class people in the dust because we can't afford equality of life. We're all working 1, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, very difficult. Most Americans are within one paycheck cycle of being homeless or being unable to afford their most basic of bills. Like, we in the United States are not doing well, and yet we have the constant experience of waking up every morning, every week, and seeing that the United States Congress can vote in $1 million, right? The United States different departments are more than capable of supporting a foreign state who is engaging in some of the worst crimes against humanity that you can cause against the people, not just because we're Palestinian and we see and we experience these things at the forefront of our minds and our families, right? Our people, but because according to the Geneva Conventions, this is genocide. And so, folks will be shamed by history, but what y'all have been able to do now is make people act now. And I hope that we're able to take these lessons, the things that you mentioned, and actually grow an anti-war movement that is serious about capturing and challenging imperialism and US empire, Zionism, and Israeli hegemony of the Middle Eastern region. I think earlier I mentioned, advocacy, because that's where most folks kind of go for change, right? They say this is where we need to advocate, but we know that Zionism is a bipartisan issue, and the support for the state of Israel has always been the popular kind of position in either party. And so, just again, you talked about divestment, you talked about the student movement, like the really wise point about how each context is different. Y'all also are actually pulling through with another demand that's unique. There are students from Gaza who are going to receive scholarships to CSU Sacramento, and this is a regular occurrence. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so two of our community members have, so our admin is working with philanthropists, right, to bring two Gaza students to study at our campus. And they have found community members to sponsor these students. And they are going to work to up to 20 Gazan students, which is a really big deal because we need to bring Gazan students to receive the education they very much deserve. They never deserved for their universities to be bombed. They never deserved for their schools to be bombed, all of them. And so this is the very least we can do. The very, very least. 20 is not enough, but it's somewhere to start. And every university should be taking in the Ghazans, all of them. And something to add too is why this was also a lot of pressure, at least for us at CSU Sacramento, is because President Luke Wood told us that the other CSUs were looking at him and how he handles the encampment with us as a test run for them. So it was a lot of pressure because, accept nothing less than your demands, but also when you have your other CSU comrades, relying on you. I don't know what their presidents are going to do, but when our president let us know that they're looking at us to see what happens here so they can replicate it, that was a lot of pressure. And that meant that we had to even ride harder, right? To make sure that all demands are met, period.
Absolutely. We settle for nothing less. So May, students are going to arrive in Sacramento, inshallah.
Two of them will arrive May 20th, yes.
Okay. And then June, I read that direct investments, divestments, excuse me, will be made by June of this
So
year?
it's actually effective 5/24. So by the end of this month, like, it says 5/24. So that means you really only have to the end of this month to fix this. And it's not hard. It's not hard to go to your mutual fund company. I know University Foundation, Sac State uses Sandhill, right? It's not hard to be like, yo, give me my scan. They work for you.
So how will you all follow up with your admin to make sure that they do all of this by the end of May?
So there are disclosements on the University Foundation website now. And this is really where the work of the students continues, right? So because it is in policy, misconduct is misconduct, right? So if they are not following this, that is a violation, and then the applicable accountability will be placed on that. And also, too, the students aren't going anywhere, and Faculty for Justice in Palestine's not going anywhere. Actually, we also demanded that somebody from Faculty for Justice in Palestine be placed on the finance committee to make sure they are doing the work, because we don't want them to say, oh yeah, we're divested, right? We want somebody on our side as well sitting on that. But they also did say, but like, listen, misconduct is misconduct, and violations get handled by the admin going in and restructuring. And we kept telling them, like, we need this in a statement written with signatures, because people are not going to look at policy and understand procedural kind of things and kind of policy. They wanted to explain to them in a statement. And that's when basically they would said, like, well, we don't believe that, all these schools going into treaties with their students. It's in policy, and like, we're admin, and this is our job. And that's not really easy to just accept on our end. And I also let him know, but what if a Zionist comes after you? So again, it really reiterates the work of the students have to keep a close eye on it all, because it is now in policy. It must be disclosed and it must be divested. So if anything goes against policy and there is misconduct, then Faculty for Justice in Palestine and the students need to go in and ensure justice is handled.
Absolutely. I'm sure that you all are connecting with the other CSUs, because I know that none of this happens in a vacuum, but I'm really excited to see this be delivered at the end of May, and hopefully, inshallah, the reverberations of this win of so many of these demands, just make their rounds throughout the different universities and this student struggle in the US and Canada and the UK and across the world. Students are uprising and saying, we will not take this, not in our lifetime, and not while we are here and our counterparts in Gaza and in Palestine have their education, their lives, and their freedom deferred. Anything else you want to add, Farah? Thank you so much for covering this and for spending time with us today.
Yeah, I guess I'll close off with saying I know that there was some media that came out saying that, kind of implying as if we were the perfect protesters, discounting our comrades who are throwing it down for justice in other universities. And that's something that I really want to highlight, because we were not the perfect protesters. Our admin just showed that you're not supposed to call a military of cops and riot police on your students. That's not the norm. The bar is in hell at this point. We were not the perfect protesters, and we fully support our comrades in their stand for justice, right? So we barricaded and handled our business like that, but we were really only peaceful because our admin did not mobilize against us.
Yeah, they met you there because I think your demands were so strong. And like you just said, there is no perfect way to protest. The protests and their demands are what is on the table, and what should be criminalized is fueling a genocide with educational dollars, not protesting the fact that a genocide is being funded, period. Farah, you're a star. Thank you so much for meeting with us and for educating folks in the Arab AMP sphere of what's happening at CSU Sacramento and why we need to continue to back the students on every university, wherever we are and wherever they are across the country. We really stand with y'all and we thank you for delivering us justice in this moment and leading us to the front lines. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
With that, y'all, this is our May episode. My name is Nadya Tannous. I'm your host, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Salam.